Right, Roxanne Brizan, St. Martin. I'm an economist by profession. I'm attached to the Department of Economics, UWI St. Augustine. I'm also a research consultant with the HEU Center for Health Economics at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. I am from Windsor Forest St. David's. I left here in 2005 actually to start my bachelor's in economics, which I did with a minor in international relations. I continued on with a master's in economics and a PhD in economics as well. My work with economics and census, it spans three spheres. So as an educator, I teach methods of economic investigation, statistics. A huge component of that, we use a lot of census information. For my PhD dissertation, I did access to healthcare in multi-island microstates such as ours in Grenada, with a focus on Carriacou and Petit Martinique. And I also used some census information in that aspect. With my research consultant role in the HU Center for Health Economics, we do a lot of work across the region on issues of affordability in healthcare. And we also use a lot of census information. So you're right, in economics, the basis of economics is a lot of data, which is used for informed decision making. The first thing I want to say is that the information in census, I don't want to romanticize it in any way. It's time consuming for both the enumerators as well as the participants, and it could be very daunting, intrusive, and invasive in many ways. But I think one of the things we also need to keep in mind is the objective of data like that. It is useful for valuable, reflective information on a community level, which is used for informed decision making. We are faced with a lot of uncertainty, and if you have uncertainty in decision making, especially as an economist, I would say we have a big problem with scarcity, use of resources, inefficiencies. With the data, it will also help us to make better decisions, whether it's on a community level, on a national level. And I think educating the population is very important in terms of understanding why the data is needed. So for example, you use income as an example. It's not far-fetched, and in all the countries I've worked, income has always been one of the data points that persons are very hesitant to give information on. But we need to think of it in a development context. I see the census as a development tool. Sir Arthur Lewis said good economics begins with that concern for conditions under which people live. And so the census provides that information about the conditions. So incomes, for example, it gives us a sense of how incomes are distributed across a country and the levels of equity or inequities that may exist in the country. What is happening to high-income persons? What are the challenges low-income persons are being faced with? And if you want to devise social safety nets for low-income persons, the information base is important. My work is focused a lot on health and health economics. But a lot of the information outside of the health aspect is also pertinent to the work that I do. For example, in the census, you get a sense of demographic transitions. Demographic transitions become important when you want to devise interventions. If you have a youthful population, you have an elderly population, how do you plan for that? Epidemiological transition as well. What types of diseases are in the country? That becomes important. One of the areas of the census that I'm particularly interested in is the health aspect, in terms of access to private insurance and so forth, because one of the things I've seen in my research is high levels of out-of-pocket payments by persons in the population across the region. A few years ago, I was involved in a study right here in Grenada where we saw high levels of out-of-pocket payments. Now, that provides information on the burden that households face when they are going to seek care. It may also give us information on why people may choose not to seek care if it's not affordable. And affordability is just one aspect of it. When you look at relationships between the variables in the census, for example, you may look at who typically doesn't want to seek care? Is it male, female? You can do that correlation between the different variables to get more information. I think we need to look beyond the descriptive statistics of the census. The census tells us a story, right? It tells us what is going on in communities, how people are doing their welfare, and that is important. Even in terms of the information technology part of the census, we are in that digitization mode, particularly with the pandemic. Now, if there's a gap and we don't know what the gap is in terms of persons accessing the requisite tools, then there's a problem. The census, we have to look at it, it provides a lot of underlying social indicators in terms of welfare, and think of it as a development tool. How is our country developing? Outside of the fact that we are looking at what is happening now, we can also compare to the last census to see how we have developed over a period of time, which is good for international comparison. It is not a situation where the information is only useful for government. It is not just for government. It's useful for students, it's useful for NGOs, it's useful for international agencies. One of the things I really hope is that the census is used to serve people, right? And I just want to encourage persons, as much as it may be, daunting in many ways, just remember the objective of it is to have valuable, reflective information that can be useful to develop our communities.